Everyone, welcome along to another image review session. I'm Alex, and these are some of my pictures from my September and October 2025 trip to Canada. This is the third video, and in this video my focus is on some of the mollusk pictures that I took there, which, as you're going to about to see, are pictures of sea slugs mainly, and octopus. So yeah, it's mollusks, or you could just say sluggers and ockies, depending on your bias. There's 29 pictures, and there's some macros and some wide angles. All these pictures are taken in the God's Pocket area of British Columbia, of Vancouver Island in Canada, and you can tune in and see some of the other episodes if you are interested. The macro shots are pretty much all taken with a Tamron 90mm lens, and the wide angle shots, these are probably fisheye. So these are the 13mm Nikonos lens. This one here is with the Nikon 8-15mm lens. It's rather unusual. You can see all the camera settings on the right hand side. If you view this on a big screen and you obviously watch it at high quality, you'll be able to read all those settings off if you're interested in them. I should say all these pictures are on my website as well. And if you go to my website, and let me I'll just highlight that one. If you go to my website, which is called amustard.com, there we go, it's just going to load up, and you type in here octopus, it should bring up my recent octopus pictures first. I've shot quite a lot of octopuses recently, and press image search, or if you type Canada in there, you'll get them. These are some of the pictures we're about to review, and there was that picture I highlighted. If you click on the picture twice, you'll see it big. If you click on it once, you'll get this information page up, which has got the caption, and underneath the picture here on the right hand side it says image info. If you click on that, you'll also be able to read all the camera settings off again. So 90mm lens, f8, ISO 200, 1/320th of a second, and this particular one was shot with an MFO3, which gives that wider field of view than a standard 90mm would, obviously, of that octopus. So they're in the talk here, the settings, but you can also find them on my website because all these pictures are up there now. Right, so this first picture is an opalescent sea slug, and I just liked this one because it was crawling along this ridge. The ridge was full of life and colour, and it was in front of this very colourful background, but it was far enough away that I could choose an aperture to blur that background away. I did have to sacrifice a bit of depth of field on the slugger, on the nudibranch. You can see the serrata at the back here aren't as sharp as the rhinophore at the front, but they're close enough. They still stand out from the background, and that blurred background just means I've got those blotches. They almost look like blotches of paint in the background from the marine life, and it just creates a colourful picture, but the subject still bounces out of the frame at the viewer, which is really nice. This opalescent sea slug was crawling across this red stuff on the seabed. I think this might be a bryozoan, but I'm not bryozoan, a tunicate, but I'm not really sure what it was actually. It's just crawling across it, and I was able to find an angle to completely fill the frame with the kind of orangey red behind it. So again, it makes for a very colourful overall frame. This is one of the huge nudibranch species you get there, about the size of a shoe, and it's called an orange peel nudibranch. It feeds on the red soft coral. They're pretty common up there, and this was shot with the MFO3. And this one here, I accidentally, my strobe, there was some soft coral at the top here, and it creates this shadow at the back of the frame here. But I quite like the fact that this feels like it's coming out of the shadows out into the picture. So this was purely accidental, getting this shadow here. But I actually rather liked it. So when I saw that come up in the viewfinder, I was like, oh yes, I'll make use of that in the picture. And I like the fact it feels like it's coming out of the darkness at me in the picture. And that's MFO3, the other two are MFO1 shots. Now some fisheye wide angle shots of the Malibu nudibranchs. So these are the hooded nudibranchs in the seagrass. And I like this one, just a single one going up the blade of the seagrass, the leaf of the seagrass. I love all these patterns in their serrata, these processes on their back. This one had just closed its hood, but actually I think it neatened it up. When it was out feeding, it looked like it was just hanging around, but with the hood closed, it actually looks like it's crawling up the blade of grass here, which is really cool. And I like the sun at the top of this picture. It's a pretty picture. It's a nice shot. I like this one. This is much more the spectacle I was looking for, which is where there are loads and loads of the nudibranchs in the seagrass, and then above the seagrass there's all these fish. And I just love the richness of life in this picture. It's quite a messy shot. There's kind of stuff everywhere, but that's what the life was like. So I took a few frames of that. Liked it. Never really got kind of a shot that wasn't messy, but I still think these shots work. So I like the richness of life in these pictures. Now into, they're mixed up because they're all molluscs, but yeah, this is a macro shot of a giant Pacific octopus. Just a close-up of the eye, the little stalky bit above the eye, which is very characteristic of this species, and then the open siphon below, and the lovely textures that you get, the textures and chromatophores on the body of giant Pacific octopus in particular. Okay, this one is a scaly head sculpin. You can see him here, but he's actually perched on top of a nudibranch of a, I think it's a Monterey sea lemon, as the background, which is pretty cool to see. So I like that one. Another opalescent slug, this one crawling along some pinky sponge. And again, I just like these colourful shots. You know, I could have done inward lighting on this and got him on a black background, but it just seems such a waste in this environment. I did shoot some on black backgrounds, there's one below there. This is shot with a single snoot, coming from the right-hand side onto this guy. He was crawling on this stalk of seagrass or something, or of seaweed or something, and I managed to get him. He's quite a dirty individual. He's got this detritus caught up around his rhinophore. But yeah, I do shoot them on the black backgrounds, but I just love the colours up there. It's such an important part. A swimming Malibi. Now, this is actually quite a young one, but it was swimming. It was a good size for my lens, and it was easy to shoot in the open. The frosted nudibranch. It's a beautiful, beautiful looking nudibranch. This one shot with a snoot, just to light it up and not light up the ugly environment that it was living in. This is just in it on a muck divey site. But yeah, just single snoot, coming from the top, a little bit from the front, but mainly from the top, and just picking this guy out. I didn't want to just light him on the black, otherwise, you know, it just looked like he's floating in the water. So I let the snoot beam be wide enough to light a little bit of the seabed around it, give it a bit of a context. But it's the seabed is because he's white and the seabed was dark. He really pinged anyway, so he just stood out from the background. And this is on the same dive, actually with the same snoot positioning, because I had been shooting with the snoot, shooting a vertical with the snoot coming from the top, and then I saw this nudibranch and I thought, oh, it's going to be a horizontal, and now the snoot was coming from the right hand side. That's just me not moving the snoot between the two pictures. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And then some wide angle shots, some more shots of the Malibi, the hooded nudibranchs. These ones here are actually in God's Pocket Bay. And in God's Pocket Bay, in a small area of it, you actually get giant kelp growing rather than the normal bull kelp in the area. So this is the hooded nudibranchs on giant kelp. So just a slightly different. So you can see the sort of the bladders of the giant kelp that go right through the seaweed there. Right. This is bull kelp. So with the big ball of bladder at the top and then the leaves coming from it. And these are some hooded nudies on the bull kelp. A little bit of forest coming through above. It was a nice situation. I don't think this is a brilliant shot, but I wanted to press this out because I think it tells a nice story. And some more shots of the Malibis on the kelp. I really like the colour of this particular piece of kelp. I would like the light to have not been so overcast, because that's what's given me this white background here. But I'm okay with it. I think it works quite well with the look of the image, so I don't mind that too much. Some more Malibi nudibranchs, this time on some of the bull kelp again. And in this particular angle, I was able to get more forest into the shot. But again, the sky was just so dark and overcast, it just renders white in these pictures. I guess you could shoot... I haven't got a tripod, but you could shoot a series of shots and maybe have a sky that you could reduce down an HDR like a landscape photographer would. But I mean, I'm not going to do that as an underwater photographer. I'm not making blended shots for that sort of thing. Anyway, another hooded nudie, this time cruising down a kelp stipe. Just a pleasing shot. They're often quite hard to show people that they're actually nudibranchs. So I think when the hood is closed and you can see the rhinophores sticking up, you can see the processes, the serrata on their backs, they look as much like a nudibranch as they're going to look like a nudibranch. So I kind of like them. I prefer them like this for a portrait shot because you can actually see what they are. And you also, that closed hood looks like a head, so it gives them a bit more character. Some different nudibranchs here. These are these dorids. These are the there's actually two species here. There's the Monterey sea lemons, and then there's the northern sea lemon as well. And actually they're actually both species together here. But they're feeding, although they're in amongst this red soft coral, I think they must be feeding on sponges because this type of nudibranch does feed on sponges. So I think there must be some sponges in amongst this red soft coral that they're feeding on. There's actually a bit of bycatch here. See these sea spiders down here? There's a couple of sea spiders that I've managed to catch as bycatch living on the red soft coral. And now some giant Pacific octopus. We went through a very nice period during the second part of the workshop where we were finding giant Pacific octopuses on lots of dives. This one here I was shooting without a wide angle, but I had the MFO on, so I was able to capture this one. I just backed off a little bit. I had a good macro, good wide view. The water was clear, and this one here was hiding in amongst the seaweed right up in the shallows. And it would have been really awesome for wide angle because you'd have just been able to get just such an amazing background behind it. With the macro lens I could get it all in, but I couldn't take a spectacular shot of it. But yeah, nonetheless I'd had a good dive, so I didn't mind. And then some wide angle shots of a giant Pacific octopus. This one here on with nice sponges around it and red soft corals. I think there's a couple of shots of this guy. I really like this shot. He had his legs down. You can see all the suckers and and on the arms here, which are really cool. The two parts of it, and the slightly wider shot here. But they're very, very similar. They're just shot with the FCP, just zooming the lens a little bit wider, a little bit tighter, but from almost the same angle. To get that shot. And I like that secondary bit of reef in the background. It just provides a nice feeling of depth in the image. This is a different GPO on the same dive site. And this one, actually, this was just a grab shot. I was shooting something else and suddenly this thing swam down the reef and landed right next to me. So this is it landing. And I just instinctively took a picture, and that's why it's got the black background, because this shot is shot down and I had been shooting up. And then I moved around it and got some more images. So this is the same individual as that previous shot, but I've now dropped down and I've now adjusted my settings. So this one is shot at 100th, and then I've gone down to a 25th to get the blue to come through. I think this is at a 40th. Even despite being shot into the sun, it's shot at a 40th because it obviously is quite dark in temperate waters. All the FCP these. Another one here, this is the same individual as this one and this one. And here he'd gone into a bit of a hole in the reef. I think it's just at the bottom of this frame here. And he was just sticking out, and it was like this big nose sticking out of the reef. But there was so much colour around him, I wanted to light everything up. Just because I love how they blend into this environment. And you understand why they have these bright red colours on them when you see them in this sort of environment. So that was really cool. This is another GPO, this one here amongst white plumos and enemies. This one here shot with the MFO 3 as well, another dive while shooting macro, and I found a GPO, was able to take these nice portraits. These are quite big shots. It doesn't really look it, because the plumos and enemies there are so big, you kind of think, oh yeah, this is just like the size of a big plate or something, but it was quite a bit bigger than that, the picture area. Anyway. And then a wide angle shot of another GPO, again sitting on plumos and enemies. This is the widest shot I took of this individual. So there was the whole GPO and the reef wall and the kelp above. And then this is the same individual but zoomed in with the FCP. So this one, if I just escape, is taken at 30mm. Oh, they're both at 30mm. So I'm actually just zooming with my fins a bit there. I'm not quite sure why I didn't shoot this at 28mm. Had a bit more width, but that's all right. I don't know. And then actually we were taking it in turns to shoot this individual, and I swam round to the other side of it and got some shots of the guys queuing up waiting for a chance to shoot it, because I thought it was a nice chance to get a picture of a diver with a GPO. But I think the guys, actually after I took this shot, the guys were like quickly swimming out of my picture, and I was like, no, stay, but I couldn't communicate that underwater, and that's Jason and Bob in that picture. And then this is swung back round and shooting up the reef. The GPO moved along a little bit, so it gave a chance for a slightly different shot here, with the reef and the soft coral and the seaweeds around it. So hopefully that was another interesting run through. I'll just scroll back through them so you can check any camera settings that you're interested in. But as I said, these pictures are on my website, so you can get the camera settings off there. Hopefully that was an interesting run through, and I'll be back again soon with another installment.